Hello there. Welcome to the third of the MCU reviews panel discussions. Of course, today we're going to be doing Iron Man 2, and today I've got two guests with me. I've got regular Adam.
Hey, that's me. I'm regular Adam.
Yeah, yes, because you're usually here, and then we've also got Callum who's been on the last two.
Yeah, I'm the regular of the MCU.
Yeah, so we've kind of got two regulars.
There you go.
Well, that's when you said regular, I thought you meant him because I'm not regular on the MCU. So
No, but you're regular on this channel.
Yeah, you two are the main on this channel.
Yes.
that's true. No, Jake was here before me.
That is actually true.
And I was here before Jake when I did my those two videos I did before, like the year before, if you remember those ones.
Mm-hmm. I remember them well because you sent them to me.
I thought you just said I shit them to you. Anyway, we're getting way off topic. Patreon. Patreon.com/Genesis of Androzani. If you'd like to contribute to this channel, there are multiple tiers that grant you things like exclusive access, as well as early access, and a master tier, which allows you to request a video for us to do. And also Twitter.com/G Androzani, if you'd like to get in contact with us. Especially if you want to be on one of these panel discussions, because we need more guests. That'd be great if any of you want to be on these. Also, if any of you watching know me personally, just send me a message on Facebook, and yeah, we'd love to have more guests. Have we lost Adam?
No, I'm here. My thing's just frozen.
Your face is frozen. Oh well, at least we can hear you.
Hey.
Does look quite funny. Right. Oh my god, there's so much going on here.
Sorry,
I ruined it all. I'm sorry.
Yeah, someone just walked into my room to give me my breakfast. So
What time is it over there?
it's just
it's
half
12
past
hours.
10 in the morning.
Oh really?
Okay.
I thought it was half past
Daylight saving, isn't it?
Yeah. That's right.
I've got my bacon sandwich and I'm ready to go.
Hey.
Right. Well, seeing as you're having a munch, we'll let Adam start first.
Right.
Adam, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to give your initial sort of thoughts on Iron Man 2.
Okay, so it's not as bad as everyone makes it out to be. That being said, it is a very poorly structured film. It's a bunch of scenes that are kind of weaved together that have some very strong moments and held up by some very flimsy supports, if that makes sense. There are bits and pieces of some really good stuff in there, but on the whole, it's kind of a lackluster film and it's kind of hollow feeling. Characters are fun, but really, there's too much going on. It's bloated and yet somehow hollow at the same time. That's my thoughts.
Okay. Callum, your turn.
Yeah. For me, I do agree that this film is not as bad as everyone says it is. Everyone always says that, especially back in the day, that this film is like one of the worst of the MCU, especially in its early days. Completely disagree with that. But this film, while it's not the worst thing, it just feels so it's not boring like Incredible Hulk, but it just doesn't feel right in a way. There's so many set pieces that feel so out of nowhere, that feel so tacked on. It takes me out of it so much. Though the characters I do enjoy to an extent, there are a few that sort of annoy me in the way that they're just portrayed. Villains are weird. Dialogue, while it's okay, feels incredibly ad-libbed, even more so than the first one. But it just feels... While I can just watch it every now and again and enjoy it, it just feels like a step down from the first Iron Man.
All right. Okay. So, little story. I saw the section where he gets really drunk when it first came out, like on Sky Box Office or something, or Sky. When I was young, so it would have been like a year after it came out, probably. And then
2011.
That's the only memory I would have had of that movie, because I remember my dad's like, "Oh, it's Iron Man 2," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I've never seen this movie before." And I watched a bit of it, and then I didn't watch it. So that's all the memory I had. I was like, "Wow, that's weird. It doesn't look like a superhero movie at all. It just looks like just like a guy getting drunk." So then I watched it in full 2 days ago. And I guess the best way for me to describe this film is it feels like episodes 4 to 6 of Iron Man the TV series slammed into one. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Doesn't feel like a movie at all, and it's very strange. It was slightly disappointing, but it's also weirdly entertaining as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Because it's such a weird film.
Because I don't think it's a bad story, and I don't think it's a badly made film, and I don't think it's not entertaining. I just don't think it's a very good, like, structured film, if that makes sense. I feel like the structure of the film really drags it down. That's the main thing that drags it down, and it's so not important to the whole series.
There's a tiny, for the most part, I agree with you on that. There's a tiny little bit of stuff in there that I slightly disagree with in terms of Tony and Howard Stark's better relationship. There is a sort of further progression of Tony accepting the fact that his father did love him, which plays a what haven't you seen in the MCU, Connor?
Well, I haven't seen the second half of the first Avenger. I haven't seen The Dark World. I haven't seen Iron Man 3. I haven't seen Age of Ultron. I haven't seen a lot. I haven't.
You haven't seen Winter Soldier or Civil War either.
No, I haven't seen either. No.
Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Okay.
We were discussing this yesterday.
It's probably easier for me to tell you what I have seen.
Actually, yeah.
Iron Man.
Yep.
Incredible Hulk.
Yep.
Iron Man 2.
Yep.
Thor 1.
Yep.
The Avengers.
Yep.
I don't think I've seen anything from Phase 2. I don't think so. I've seen Spider-Man: Homecoming. I've seen Infinity War, and that's about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of core pieces missing there. If people have watched the entire MCU.
Most of the story beats leading up to Infinity War you've missed.
Yeah. I haven't seen Ragnarok. I haven't seen any Guardians. I haven't seen Civil War.
There's so many core pieces that make the MCU so great that you haven't seen. It's just so. But that's what will make this so great is when we get to those films.
Yes,
you will appreciate Infinity War and the MCU as a whole so much more.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I'm kind of glad that I've already gotten Hulk and Iron Man 2 out of the way.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. It's because there's a lot about Tony and his whole arc, which I now can't talk about. But things about Tony tie into why I like Iron Man 2 just a bit, even though it's a bad film. For Tony's character, it does actually have some significance, which I really appreciate.
I wouldn't say anything about Tony's character was negative in this movie. In fact, I think we should start with that actually.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Tony Stark.
Tony Stark, aka Iron Man 2. What I'll say about him is right off the bat, he is the best thing about this movie, bar none. I would say, he is, and actually maybe not best because that's debatable, but I would say most entertaining, especially in the first act.
Yeah.
He the first act of this movie with the whole Formula One thing, whatever was. He is so fun from all the way from the start till the end of that act.
Well, it's kind of like they had a simple conceit in the first two acts, which was, what if Tony Stark was dying? How would he react to that? And that's him getting drunk and doing reckless things and stressing Pepper and Happy out, whilst the Shield are having to pick up his shit behind him because he's just being reckless. And then Rhodes comes in and is like, sort your shit out, mate. And then Rhodes becomes warm as shit. It's fun watching Tony destroy his own life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think, Callum?
I would say I agree with that. I think Robert Downey Jr. gives another good performance, just like in the first Iron Man. He's the same character that we love, but this added sort of element to him that he knows that he's going to die. Like, he's accepted that he's dying, but he's doing all these things that are pretty fucking reckless. Like, he almost dies in the Grand Prix. Like, he's there at the Grand Prix, and then like 10 minutes later, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go race." I'm just like, it's like, in a sense, that sort of comes out of nowhere. For me personally, it takes me out of it. But then it's like, it's still fun. It's still a fun thing to watch.
Yeah.
As the film
The
goes
one
on.
thing that was going through my head though is it's almost like he's become a washed-up celebrity as he's become a celebrity. Like, there is no period where he is actually at his peak. Like, he's just like, I am Iron Man, and now he's like, oh fuck.
That was his peak. Him saying that he was Iron Man is the moment of his life, and now he's doing all these things because him being Iron Man is what is killing him.
Well, and interestingly, part of something I really like about this film is that the film opens with the Paramount logo with the quote from the end of the first film, which was, this uplifting, heroic, badass moment. And it's got sinister music playing underneath it. And you have Ivan Vanko, whatever his name is, Mickey Rourke, and his father. They're watching the TV. And it just completely changes the tone. Whilst Iron Man saved Tony's life, Iron Man has also ruined it in many ways, and ruined other people's lives as well. And the whole thing is about Tony's demons, both presently and in the past. There's a nice little building off what was successful on the first film and kind of taking a spin on it to give it a bit more weight. Using
POV as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that POV in the beginning of the film, I really, really enjoyed that section. Like, nice, just like 30 seconds there. I actually really liked that in the way that was sort of directed.
Jon Favreau did a good job, especially considering, from what I understand, this film was insanely rushed.
Oh, you can tell.
It seems very rushed.
Like, there's a scene where, well, we'll get to it later, but basically there's a scene I remember where Sam Rockwell is talking, and it's like, as soon as the breath finishes his mouth, cut to another scene. And there's a lot of really hard edits at the end of scenes. It's so jarring.
To be fair, some of the middle section of Iron Man 1 had that problem as well.
Yeah, well, that's because the whole improv thing, as you guys said, both these films are mainly improvised, dialogue-wise.
Yeah, and it's definitely, you can tell that in the later stages of the MCU, they've improved that section of the storytelling much more.
Oh, yeah.
Everything is so polished now.
Yeah, this film, I would say, is even more apparent to how much it's ad-libbed. Like, every scene seems like they're trying to make it seem so natural when they're constantly like talking over each other and stuff like that, especially between like Tony and Pepper. But it does come across as just so ad-libbed. It takes like me out of it.
Yeah, there was a bit in the middle of the film where I got really confused as to what was going on with Tony Stark, because they like Shield just locked him down, and then he just, I don't know, he just did what he wanted, and then something happened.
He discovered a new element.
They were talking. Nick was saying that he hasn't tried everything, and obviously Tony's trying to make a new element, and it almost saves his life in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's unlike Iron Man 1. There are times in this film where it's kind of not easy to follow in some areas.
It was just very unclear what the hell was going on with Tony. He was just like, I was just getting so lost at where he was going in the film. Like, the focus just went completely away from him and then went on to other characters. And then suddenly he starts becoming important again. I was like, I completely missed this middle section. Like, what has he been doing in this time? Has he just been in his garage, like, drinking?
He's lost his business. There was no in terms of the the hero's journey of discovering yourself, encountering a problem, low point, resurrection. We get to the low point, but we don't see how. Low point just happens suddenly.
Yeah,
the whole middle section of the film.
And then kind of similar, but probably I would argue much more obviously. I think the climax of this film, especially for Tony Stark, is very generic. It's so just, this is the end. Bye.
Boom.
And the frustrating thing is they had a great setup for a final battle. They did, with Justin Hammer's wonky robots, with Ivan Vanko messing with them. They could have done so much more with that climax, but instead it was just explosions. Whipman shows up. They do what they did in the fight earlier. The end, Botanical Gardens. It's just...
It was a very, like, Saturday morning cartoon.
Yes. So, one thing I want to say about this film is the special effects are awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I think, especially in the final battle, the effects look really, really good and very convincing.
But
the final fight is quite... I really do like the final fight when there's like just no music. It's just constant gunfight, the guns. And it's just... I just really like how that fight between Rhodes and Tony against all the drones, I like how that was structured, in my opinion.
And also, one thing I really liked, which the MCU has kind of lost, is the CGI Iron Man outfits feel heavy.
Mm-hmm.
They like the way whenever they walk, there's a it just feels very mechanical. Whereas as the series goes on, they kind of lose that a bit, and it feels very...
Well, to be fair, in the first Iron Man, it felt mechanical because it was an actual suit.
They had that in this one as well, but just when they mixed the CGI and practical, it felt heavy. Also, speaking of special effects, the best Iron Man suit up happens in this film.
Which one?
Is the briefcase one?
It's the briefcase.
Oh,
yes. The briefcase is awesome.
That is... And I love the suit as well. I think the suit looks fucking really cool.
The big suit in the middle.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. The suits, that's the one thing that's consistent throughout these films, is that this Tony Stark suit, the look of them look really nice. It's just the CGI that sometimes can bring it down a bit.
Yeah, it's we'll get to it later, but that's one of my biggest problems with Civil War is the CGI. But we'll get to that when we get to it.
Right. Yeah. But the thing is, I would say in terms of on a character level, apart from a few moments where it was genuinely brilliant, like when he's watched the video of his father, then some of the chemistry he had with Scarlett Johansson, which we'll probably get onto later. I just feel like the conclusion to this movie where he finally got with Pepper Potts was just it done. I don't know. There was something. The build up to it just didn't seem big enough for me. Like it was so cliche.
He didn't do anything to earn her respect back.
I mean, she saved her life, but
but in terms of like Tony didn't really change.
I agree.
Tony,
I agree. That's what I'm saying. I agree.
Yeah. Exactly.
Maybe it might be just like in the creative process, especially if it's rushed. They were kind of thinking, we don't really want him to change because he's popular. You know what I mean?
Like, people love Tony Stark. We don't want him to change and make him not be sarcastic and constantly putting out quips. Because that's what people love him.
My favorite versions of Tony Stark are the broken arsehole Tony Stark.
Yeah, but that's your favorite version of any character, Adam.
It's not always.
Characters with layers. I want characters with layers.
Yes, exactly.
That's why David Tennant on Big Finish is disappointing for you, because he's not broken.
Yes, exactly. But those stories are very fun, though. They are very fun.
Yeah, just like Iron Man 2. Just like Iron Man 2. Fun.
And the thing is, Tony Stark in the Avengers, for example, he's so much fun to watch. But he's not really interesting, you know? He's very entertaining. He's a great leading man. He has a great entrance, and he's got some great action scenes, and his confrontation with Loki is awesome. But granted, the Avengers, there's a lot going on, so you can't have all the characters have an emotional arc.
Did you hear that? You just sound like a Marvel villain.
I do appreciate.
Yeah, it's.
Sorry, your audio fucked up big time. Oh no, I think we may have lost him.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yes, you just sounded like a bloody cyborg.
Yeah.
Am I better now?
It's okay now.
I think
it's okay now. Yeah, that was.
Okay. But basically, my point is, I like he's vulnerable. Not when his quips and his arrogance come from a place of a broken man, not just, hey, look how cool I am. You know, when he's
Yeah.
doing it as a shield as opposed to doing it because that's who he is.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes
Well, he
and
might-
Iron Man.
well, he very well might be still doing it then, but you just don't know it. That's that's the
Exactly.
difference.
But
Because
then the thing is, because in Avengers, because he plays it up, he confronts Captain America. He constantly tries to provoke Banner into becoming the Hulk, which is incredibly reckless.
yeah, I've got a place Mark Ruffalo in my head because I got Edward Norton stuck in there at the moment.
Shitty, uncharismatic Edward Norton as the Hulk.
Man, you know who should have been the Hulk in that film? Bloody Tim Roth.
Tim
Roth is so charismatic. Not necessarily as Emil Blonsky, because he doesn't get to do anything except turn into a big CGI monster. But Tim Roth as an actor is awesome, and I want to see him do more.
He's got like 5 lines in that movie.
Yeah.
It sucks.
He just wants to be Hulk, and that's it. I want to be a big CGI monster and kill people and look like I'm so bony.
We did say that movie is basically the plot of a PS2 game.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
It looks like one too. I mean, yeah.
Hulk Ultimate Destruction is basically that plot.
If someone could do an edit where there's a bunch of just PS2 controls of that film, then people would be convinced that it's the PS2 version of the film.
Well, that game exists.
That's what I'm saying. People would assume it's the game.
Yeah.
But
so
one thing, yes.
I was going to say anything else to say about Tony Stark before we move on.
I really like him in this film because he's a broken man.
I do as well. I like that element to the film.
And that's why I think the Howard Stark scene is so pivotal, because a lot of the stuff feels unearned. That one, because that was an issue that kind of went unresolved in the previous film, that got brought out more in this one, and you realized, there was a softer side to Howard. Tony did have a yearning to be properly connected to his father, but his father died when he was so young that Tony just never got to really bond with him. And then his father figure, Obadiah Stane, was a bastard. So Tony never really had a father figure.
Yeah, that scene is probably the best scene in the film for me, and I think it's one of the most important scenes in the MCU as a whole.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, it's a great scene.
I guess I got
done really well.
I guess I got that to look forward to then.
You do.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Right. So yeah, we've sort of already touched on already, but Pepper Potts.
Feel sorry for her in this film, man.
Yeah, she kind of gets the Mickey role, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Except at least she does get him in the end, unlike Mickey.
The thing is, poor Pepper Potts has to, the point of it, their relationship is she has to deal with all the damage control. But that never really gets resolved. So poor Pepper Potts just has all the shit dumped on her. Oh, and then she's saved in the end. That's it. That's her story.
So it's like, I'm going to make you the CEO of my company, but I'm also going to flirt with this other woman. Sorry.
I mean, it's Scarlett Johansson after all, though, to be fair. She looks great in this film, by the way. She looks fantastic.
Now Scarlett Johansson is playing the David Tennant role in this movie, where she is taking Rose away from Mickey.
Yeah, it's just... Oh, that's great.
Or I could just be making that up. I don't know. But I don't know. Pepper Potts, the actress is fine, but I don't know. She's just a weird character, even in the first one.
It's interesting because there's a comedic chemistry that I completely buy between Gwyneth Paltrow and the other cast members, but the romantic chemistry between her and RDJ I don't buy.
Yeah, and romance in these first 3 films is the biggest issue I have so far in all these films. The romance is by far consistently the weakest point.
Yeah, and the next one is Thor, which also has romance. And
God.
I didn't think that. And so it's like, what's going on here? I mean, I guess it was kind of late 2000s, early 2010s, which was kind of a very romantic period. Watching this film back, I forgot how small it is.
I've got a
question.
Quite a small film.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember. Is there romance in Captain America: The First Avenger?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Is there romance?
Sort of. That's something that gets. You'll watch. You'll see.
Yeah.
Well,
I would say there is romance in the first Avenger.
Okay, but
Yes.
Is it
But
the same?
not as-
Is it to the same degree as Iron Man 1, 2, Hulk, and Thor?
I would say it's different in a sense.
Right.
I think it's done differently.
The difference is
watched
Peggy
it,
Carter is. Yeah, the difference is Peggy Carter is a much better character than all the other love interests.
Mm. I'm actually interested to see how that romance story is done, because I haven't seen it in full. I've only seen clips of it. I'm wondering if it's better than.
Wait, which
the
one are you
rest of
talking
them.
about?
First Avenger.
Peggy
Yeah.
Carter.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I'm talking about the romance in First Avenger. I'm wondering if that's going to be the best romance story in in Phase 1.
Yes.
Because I'm actually really interested when I watch that to see if it is. Because
And
compared to
and obviously the
Yeah.
next one will be Thor, so you get to watch that one as well,
exactly,
which I've already seen.
yeah, I think the
I mean,
romance is the weak
See,
point. So I'll be
I
interested
think
to see.
even though I'm probably just saying what I shouldn't be saying already, but I'm just gonna say it before I forget it. The problem with Thor is that I've watched the Star Wars prequels, so I've already got triggered by Natalie Portman because like I've already had a bad
She
romance
just
with her
can't.
already.
She can't do romances. She just can't do romance films. Or any sort of romance in these films.
Well, I mean, isn't she good in Black Swan though?
Yeah.
And
I
isn't
haven't
that
seen
like
it,
a
so I
lesbian romance?
That's an intense film.
I know
She's
that
great.
is lesbian.
Anyway,
So.
we're getting distracted. Yeah, Pepper Potts.
Yeah.
Good actress, but just I don't know. Her storyline is just very wonky.
Even to this day, she just does. There's just something about her that I just don't click with. I don't know if it's Gwyneth Paltrow. I don't know if it's the way Pepper Potts is written. There's just something that just doesn't click for me.
I got in trouble last night. I got in trouble last night with Callum because I said this. I said a similar thing about Loki.
You didn't get in trouble, but like I was like, yeah. But I think what I said to him is that I think it's because he hasn't seen Avengers in full and he hasn't seen Ragnarok. Those are very important.
And even for that matter, he hasn't seen The Dark World.
Exactly. Even though it is trash, but it's important to the Thor Loki story. So
The thing is, you could call The Dark World Loki, and it would make a lot more sense.
For Loki.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to.
I will defend to an extent. Only to an extent. I will defend The Dark World when we get to it. Because
all I'm asking for, all I'm begging for, is that it's better than the Incredible Hulk.
you know who plays the villain in Dark World, eh?
No.
Yeah, we know.
I don't know anything about it. I've never seen
good.
it.
Oh,
we will keep it secret then. We will not tell you who plays the villain.
I'm literally telling you, I don't know anything about any of these films I haven't seen apart from what was in Infinity War. That's it.
I wonder how long it's going to take Connor to recognize him under all that makeup.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
If you recognize
Is it going to be like bloody World Enough in Time, where it's like, I don't know how long it's going to be until you recognize the Master.
Kinda. Anyway,
I'm into
James Rhodey Rhodes. So he's been recast in this film.
Don Cheadle is in.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about him.
I prefer him to Terrence Howard. Honestly,
He's definitely more likable than Terrence Howard. I would say that.
I like.
The thing is, sorry, go ahead.
I like the way Don Cheadle is. I like him in this film a lot. I might be the only one, not the only one, but like I just like Don Cheadle's acting in this film. I like this might also to do with his future films in this series as well. But I just straight away prefer him to Terrence Howard. Just straight away, I think.
Yeah.
I just think he's better. He's more charismatic in a way. Because Terrence Howard in the first Iron Man film, he just felt like he was there. He just felt like, I think I said this about
part of that's the writing though. I think in this film, Rhodey is definitely more focused as a character.
Yeah, I mean he's got more to do, and he has an actual sort of arc. Because the arc for him in this film is that the military.
Whereas in Iron Man 1, he was just on the other end of a phone call.
Yeah, he was Tony's best mate, and that was it. This one, he actually gets an arc where the military lets him down. He puts faith in the military, but in the end, it ultimately lets him down.
It becomes more about trusting the common man.
Yeah.
Thing about James Rhodey Rhodes is with Don Cheadle. Don Cheadle, like Terrence Howard in other stuff, is quite charismatic, but Don Cheadle is a very sort of effortlessly charming actor.
Yeah.
So even though he's got a different sort of charisma than Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., whenever Robert Downey Jr. bounces something his way, Don Cheadle can bounce something back that Terrence Howard couldn't quite, if you know what I mean.
Well, what I would say is that it sort of goes on the I would say it goes on the theory, especially in this movie because of Tony Stark's condition at this point. It goes on the theory of order and chaos. I feel like those two characters represent those two things, and that's why they bounce.
Absolutely.
That's why they bounce off each other because Rhodey represents order and like sort of following the rules, and we need to do this, and this is important. And then Tony Stark's just like, fuck yeah, I'm going to do what I want. I'm Iron Man and I'm drunk, and I'm going to die.
Yeah, it's and that's the thing is, Rhodey in this film represents a sort of ideology, but what I really like about him is you can still buy him despite their fights and disagreements. You can still buy that they love each other in a way, you know? There's clearly a bond, much more than there was in the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he kind of like the Sam to Tony's Frodo?
Yeah.
Yes, in a sense, yeah.
Except less affectionate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you'll see.
Oh, well, I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, but yeah, I like Rhodey in this film. I think he has a decent arc. He has stuff to do compared to the first one, so that at least makes it somewhat better than the first one. And I think Don Cheadle is just a really good actor. So,
yep,
absolutely. Don Cheadle just works better in this universe.
Yeah. And what's the character he's called when he's wearing the suit?
War Machine.
War Machine.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like his suit is.
I have a controversial opinion.
All right.
I think the grey costume, the silver Mark I, is so much better than the red and gold. The plain silver looks so much better.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
It looks sleek. It looks cool. I'd much prefer it.
Why though?
Yeah. It just looks. It just feels more functional, and I like it. I like streamlined, simple aesthetic, and it looks more functional as an actual uniform. I side with Rhodey on that. I would have gone for the silver one as well.
I don't know. It just seems forgettable to me, to be honest.
I wouldn't say it's forgettable.
Whenever I see it, I'm just like, it's just Iron Man's suit without the color. That's all I see.
I would say
I see it as it's just Iron Man's suit before it became overcolorified.
Right. Well, that's basically just what I said, but the opposite.
Exactly. Exactly. It's great. The silver suit is great.
I like both suits.
Would you be able to sell toys of the silver suit though?
Yes, I bought them as a kid.
See,
but who else bought them?
Enough that they kept making them as a toy line.
Right. Okay. I don't know. He just kind of looks like one of those pens you pick up at a receptionist office, like one of those silver pens.
A nice, sleek, functional pen that you can write with. Tony's one looks like something that a kid's played with and drawn on with highlighter and made it. It looks cool, and sure, it looks creative, but it's not functional anymore.
Well, I guess that kind of goes back to the whole theory of order and chaos, then, doesn't it?
Exactly. I side firmly on the side of order.
Bring it back.
So, do you think that Iron Man should have a silver suit?
Yes.
Wow. He should have a silver suit, but obviously the red and gold is a very iconic look. He has to. I'm actually gonna let you have this one because you were way more controversial when you said, I don't think the video's come out yet, and so this is kind of a spoiler, but when you said you liked Tom Baker without the scarf.
Yeah.
I think that is where you lose.
I had no idea there was such a thing.
Well, the thing is...
Helens of Bing Chiang, actually.
I just like the thing is, I like the short scarf. Hate the really, really, really long one. It doesn't look like a look. It just looks cumbersome. And because I act quite a bit as someone.
Character though, it suits his character.
Yeah, but it's also in the way.
Yeah, but
Functional, sleek.
You can trip people over it though. Like, remember he's about to be beheaded in Mask of Mandragora, and then he just goes, "Oh."
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway, Iron Man 2.
Yes, sorry. Big tangent. That was expected to happen. It's like, if it's me and Adam together, it's one of two things. It's either massive tangent or spoiler territory.
Or Wipeout.
Yes.
Wipeout.
Man.
So, Natalie Rushman, aka Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow. So why does she have two names and then?
Because Natalie Rushman is her like fake name before it's revealed she's part of Shield, and then her actual name is Natasha Romanoff.
That's really that's very convenient. Like, that's why is it that?
Yeah, I don't get why they're so similar names.
It's
that
like
uses
it's like Obi-Wan and Old Ben.
Yeah, it's like if Connor and I were trying to hide our identity and make sure people didn't know we came from New Zealand and call ourselves John Kiwiman. It's it's pretty on the nose.
Yeah, it's very.
It's like
it's weird.
Weird. It's like when you wear a mustache, you're like, you don't know who I am.
It's like if they tried to disguise themselves by wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses.
Yeah. But going back to the actual character of Natalie Rushman, aka Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, I think she's a highlight of this film.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
she's very good. She's very, very good, and she is absolutely a highlight of this film. But I strongly believe that I can't. Never mind. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think Scarlett Johansson puts on a really, really good performance, I would say, and
yes, she's great.
Yeah, she's very, very
obvious
good
that
in this
she
role.
really wanted this role.
Yeah.
She's not phoning it in.
Like, she didn't want to get Edward Norton.
No, exactly. She doesn't want to be boring. She wants to have a presence about her, and I love the way she just. I think she's just great. She's just great.
There's lots of little things about her that I really like. When Rose and Tony crash through the roof, Pemba cowers in fear, and immediately Natasha, before we know she's a spy, she takes a defensive position.
Yeah.
So there's lots of tiny little details letting you know what she's about before you actually get to see, before it's revealed in the Fury scene.
Yeah.
That's something I really liked about this film. There's lots of little details despite it being so haphazardly put together.
And the thing is, the only memory I have of her past this movie is Infinity War, because I haven't seen the original Avengers in a long time. So I was and she kind of in Infinity War, she kind of blended into the background. So I kind of forgot about her. And then when she turned up in this movie, I was like, oh wow, she's in it this early. And I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say, Infinity War doesn't do her justice. It's all the other films that do her justice.
Right. So this is kind of, for me, this is kind of my introduction to her, even though I haven't kind of seen her before. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like her introduction, and then she really brings it to the table in like stuff like Winter Soldier and Civil War, I would say.
I mean, you've said that about everything about those movies that you said, oh, yeah, because I was like, oh, yeah, no, I was bored of the first half of First Avenger, and then you're like, yeah, but if you watch Winter Soldier and Civil War, it gets better. I'm like, well, I wouldn't know that. I wouldn't know that. Because when I watched First Avenger as a kid, when I got bored of it, I was like, I'm never watching another Captain America film ever again because of that.
The best in the whole series.
To be fair, Cap is quite boring in Avengers. I would agree that Cap is quite boring in Avengers to an extent.
Yes, he's very. In both.
Yeah, and that was like his second chance. That was his second chance, and I was like, nah, fuck this guy.
He was kind of comic relief more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was the old man in the room, basically.
And then the Russo brothers got a hold of him and were like, here, let's do this genre.
Yeah.
And holy shit.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen it because I remember
Yeah.
he turned up in Infinity War, and I was like, "What the fuck happened to this guy?" And they never said anything about it. And I was like, "Oh well, I guess I'll find out when I watch those movies."
Yeah.
But I was like, "This guy looks like that. This is nothing like what he was before."
Oh,
yeah, if you watch like
And it's
First
the same thing with
Avenger
Thor.
to
It's
Infinity
the same
War,
thing with Thor. He's nothing like he was.
yeah, they all get yeah.
Basically, let me sum up what happened. Basically, I watched some of Phase 1, and then I didn't care. And then I watched Homecoming and Infinity War, and I was like, yeah, I actually want to watch these now.
Yeah.
So that's the story. And now I'm going to find out eventually
Well,
about...
that's what that's what's great about this is when we get to those films and we see the development of all these characters. That's when you'll see Infinity War again, and that will be like, wow, I know what these characters are. I know what their motivations are, what they've been through, stuff like that. That's what makes everything so great.
Because think about this. Before Infinity War, the only Loki I'd seen was Avengers. So I was like, I want to see more of him in this movie, and then he fucking dies. Scene 1.
See the first 5 minutes of Infinity War don't work if you haven't seen everything of Loki.
Yeah,
it just doesn't work.
Yeah, that's I was lost.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
We'll get to it, as we like to say. Anything else you want to say about Black Widow before we move on?
No, I think she's just great. Scarlett Johansson is a perfect choice for Black Widow, I would say, and she brings a nice presence to the role, and the character itself just kicks ass, and it's fun to watch.
Is it bad of me to say that I like her better with Downey Jr. than Pepper Potts?
No, because they probably have a better dialogue between each other.
They do.
They have a better chemistry. They just have a better acting chemistry.
Yeah.
Because she kind of matches him on that sort of flirty level.
Yeah.
Even though it's funny because he's played up to be this sort of like ladies' man, but he's actually quite awkward.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
He's
really
a nerd, but he knows how to carry himself.
Yeah. It's like yes, Justin Hammer is kind of who Tony Stark secretly is.
I can't quite hear what you're saying, Adam.
Justin Hammer, Sam Rockwell, is kind of what Tony Stark secretly actually is.
Oh, right. Yeah, because I was just about to get on to Justin Hammer.
Good segues. Hey, here we go. That was planned.
Right, so Justin Hammer's the guy who is dealing with Whiplash, right?
Yeah, it's Sam Rockwell. He is basically Iron Man. He's basically Tony Stark's equal in a sense.
Right.
He's basically just the bad version of Tony Stark.
I see. But instead of so it's like in the first Iron Man film we got Obadiah Stane who turned into another Iron Man. So this one we've got a character that's like another Tony Stark. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would say.
Rightio.
Yeah.
Because and the thing is, Justin Hammer, I like Justin Hammer. A, because Sam Rockwell is very charismatic and funny. B, he's not really a threat. The threat comes from Ivan. Ivan is the antagonist of the story.
Right.
Rockwell is more just the facilitator of that. Because there's not really a big final confrontation. He just gets pressed against the desk like Black Widow, and that's the last we see of him. But I like that he's kind of like a schoolboy who wants to be the bully, but he doesn't have the strength.
Doesn't that happen in The Social Network with like Mark Zuckerberg? I can't remember.
Something like that. But that's the thing is, he's like the Mark Zuckerberg or the other tech millionaires who are quite shy and introverted, but trying to break out to that more confident, Tony Stark, Elon Musk style, outspoken kind of guy. But he's just so much of a dweeb that he can't get there. And he's not. He's good, but he's just not as good as Tony Stark in making stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I would say if someone was to ask me the first word I would use to describe Justin Hammer, it would be annoying. But I think that's kind of the point, isn't it?
Yeah,
exactly.
It is the point.
It's very deliberate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. When I was watching it, I'm rewatching it. And I obviously, when I saw Just a Hammer on screen, it just, I guess it might be just me. Whenever I saw him, it just screamed like mirror version of Tony Stark. But I guess in a sense that is the point. And obviously the purpose is to be annoying. But I was just never really invested in him, like at all. I don't know. I don't know what it is about him.
Was there supposed to be anti-chemistry between him and Whiplash?
Well, Whiplash was the one really who controlled the scenes. The intention was, I gather, that Justin Hayward got there. He's the guy with all the money. He's what Ivan should have been had his father not been arrested, right?
Mm.
And his father, not been embroiled in whatever it was, and he himself got arrested. But Ivan's the one who actually can intellectually match Tony. He's just by his time in prison. But Justin Hammer is the one who has the showy, theatrics of Tony, where he doesn't have that, ability to disconnect himself to be able to make what it is he needs to make. So by them coming together, they're supposed to form their own version of Iron Man, one with the brains and one with the showmanship, and bam, they're there. But they butt heads, and that's kind of, Ivan undermines Sam Rockwell like that. He's just the much smarter one, which I think leads to a sort of convoluted idea of their whole relationship, and it makes Justin Hammer a bit of a joke.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. I think, just for me personally, I think it might be just that I guess I just don't like Sam Rockwell's performance as much as other people, and that could just be me personally. That might be just me.
He's slightly on the hammy side, I'd say.
Yeah, I would say it goes a bit overboard, I would say, at times. And it's the same with, like, all the scenes, especially the scene with him and Whiplash, and they're finally up discussing stuff, and that's, like, where the edit, like, that scene just cuts. That kind of stuff. That, like we mentioned before, with how this feels like rushed and that ad-libbed is more apparent. That might be why I'm not a big fan of Sam Rockwell's performance and Justin Hammer as a character. That might be why.
The thing is, because in the comics, unless I'm mistaken, and obviously characters get rebooted and redone all the time, but from what I understand, in the comics, Justin Hammer is a rival of Howard Stark, and he's a much older man. He's actually quite reserved and quiet in the comics, but I think what they would have thought is that's too similar to Obadiah Stane.
It's also too similar to Whiplash as well.
Yeah, exactly. So they want, and from what I understand, also is Whiplash in the film, he's based off two different characters. They kind of take the powers of Whiplash and the backstory of a different character. I can't remember
Now see that for me, I didn't even know that, and I could tell there was something going on there because with Ivan Vanko, aka Whiplash, there was just something about him that didn't work for me, and it's when I saw him in only one of those modes. So I think the first time we saw him, we don't know anything about him, and he just turned up to the. I mean, we obviously saw him briefly at the start of the movie, but he turned up to the. He turned up to the F1 race and fucked it up.
Yeah.
So when I only saw that side of his character, I was more into it. But then when I saw his actual personality as well, it felt like he was a different character, and I got very confused.
I think there was a lot of edits around Mickey Rourke. They because from what I understand, the part of the reason Mickey Rourke was so sour on this film is there was like 40 more minutes of his screen time that got cut.
Right.
Which meant all this time and effort he put into his performance was, Mickey Rourke, despite being Mickey Rourke, puts a lot of effort into what he does. And from there's rumors and hearsay and speculation and all these reports, so I don't know how reliable this is, but there was a much more meaty role, and Ivan was supposed to be the anti-Tony, but then they sort of shifted that onto Justin, who was a joke. So it kind of convoluted both villains.
Yeah, I mean, Mickey Rourke is very dedicated.
Yes.
But he is kind of a bastard as well. Like, I don't know. he seems like a very selfish performer to me. It feels like he's only focused on drawing attention to himself as opposed to benefiting the story.
Yeah,
sharing the room.
Because the thing is, he had from what I understand, he had a very similar career trajectory to RDJ. You know, really young, hot, up and comer, fell off the map with drugs and alcohol, was arrested, then made a dramatic comeback with The Wrestler.
Right.
Which is a great film, and he's awesome in it. And then he did this, I think, pretty much immediately after, because there was that whole, you know, RDJ has a real life connection with Tony Stark because there's that whole rise and fall and comeback thing. They wanted to do the same with Mickey Rourke because they also had, you know, there was a parallel there, but it didn't quite work because it was so muddled and there wasn't enough of him as a character to really know what made him tick. He was just kind of, I hate you, Iron Man, and that was it.
Yeah.
You killed my father.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
is very weird.
He has very strange. Interestingly, I said the same thing about Obadiah Stane, but I'd say that even more so for Whiplash. He has a very strange kind of charisma.
Yeah.
Where he does draw your attention, but when you get there, or at least for me, when I got there with him, I wasn't quite sure what to think.
Yeah.
Because he kind of got this whole, look at me, I've got a parrot on my leg.
I want my bird.
I'm so eccentric, but I'm also a criminal.
I've got a top knot like a hipster, yet I am 450 pounds.
My signature move is I hang people. It's like there's something missing. I was like, he's very alien, but he's also a bit like it doesn't really go anywhere. He just sort of happens, and then he dies, doesn't he?
Yeah, he blows up.
Yeah. So definitely, like I said before, he definitely feels like a villain from an episode of a show, not a movie.
There wasn't enough personal stakes, even though they attempted it. It wasn't enough.
It wasn't developed.
Yeah, it was just because the whole thing is like basically the Stark family ruined his family, and that's basically the extent of his motivation. Like that's it. And obviously it's a big thing, but it just doesn't feel like the story develops on that much further.
And I get that his lack of dialogue is supposed to make him seem cool, but to me it just makes him seem confusing.
Yeah, they try to make him seem like sinister and like charismatic in all these ways to make him feel like a real intense villain, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah. He just seems like a bit of a prick. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. He just seems like he's just a arsehole who wants to kill people. Yeah. And make suits.
Though I do like one little thing about him that I like is the opening scene. They smash the hammer on the metal, which is, parallel to what Tony
Yes,
did,
I noticed that. I noticed that when I first watched it. I do like that. And that's pretty much what I like.
It's also a kind of a foreshadowing to Thor as well.
Yeah. Well,
which I mean, the post-credits.
Well. Oh yeah, post-credit scene as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, as a kid, when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, yes."
Oh, and also there was that woman he's like, "Show me your badge," and she shows him her badge, and it's just a Captain America shield.
And also when Coulson's like, "What's this?" and he's like, "That's exactly what I need. Put it here."
Yeah.
And it's used as just basically as a weight for something.
Yeah.
Just to put it in place. That's kind of funny.
That pretty much exemplifies Tony and Captain America's relationship.
That reminds me of? That reminds me of when like Vincent Van Gogh is like, I need to put this thing on my painting. Like he like it was like a bloody, I don't know, I can't remember what it was, but like it messed up his painting. He's just like, I'll just put it on there. It's like use it as a coaster.
Yeah.
They're like, no.
Well, yeah, I think he got a painting and he just wiped over it with like paint to make a new one to describe the thing, and the doctor's just like, no, don't do that. It's really good.
It reminds me of when they're all standing in a line in the third doctor's era, and the breeder's like, is there anything I can help with? He says, yes, pass me that. And he uses it to stir his tea.
God. Anything else we want to say about Whiplash?
No, I think we've basically covered it.
There's not much to say.
No, there is one thing. There is one thing. There is a parallel to him to Tony Stark from Iron Man 1. So he gets detained, and he's... Because, you know, in Iron Man 1, he gets, like, detained in that terrorist area, and he builds the suit. Same thing with Whiplash. He gets detained, and he builds, like, whips.
Yeah.
I liked that parallel. That was cool.
That's all right.
There were a whole lot of sort of, like, parallels, because there were parallels between him and Hammer. There were parallels between him and Ivan. There were parallels between him and Rhodey, obviously, with the suits. So there's a whole bunch of like duality thing going on, but it wasn't refined enough to really make an impact.
Yeah, could have been done a lot better.
Yeah.
Right, so are we done with Whiplash?
Yeah. And so is the MCU.
So I'm interested to hear what you guys think of this bit. I don't necessarily mean performance, because I think obviously the performer itself is very famous and very well loved, and he did put a good performance in this movie. But specifically as a character and a storyline, Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D., I don't think I liked it in this movie, and I think it's because it felt so shoehorned in.
It felt like a bit extra to the film and doesn't have an overall effect on it as a whole. I get what you mean.
You're like, okay, this is the bit in Act 2 where the villain and the hero are far apart and they can't touch each other. So we'll just put this other storyline in to progress the MCU along, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, we'll go to the donut shop.
Yeah, that was another weird cut. That was another weird cut, though. That was another weird edit. After him and Rhodes have this massive smash up brawl, Rhodes gets out of there, fade to black, fade up, he's in the donut, which is funny, but it's like, he's missed.
And I like Nick Fury in the scene where he's just like, your friend just took it, walked in your house, and just took your suit. I'm like, that's funny, but it's not. It has no bearing on the actual specific plot of this film.
Yeah,
like it doesn't affect.
Except for the fact that they revealed that Tony let Rhodes take the suit.
Yeah, you know what the funny thing is about Nick Fury is I go into it thinking, I'm like, okay. So I've seen a few Samuel L. Jackson movies. I'm like, which one is his voice going to remind me of this time? And funnily enough, it was Frozone.
I knew it would be.
It just took your suit. Where's my super suit?
Super suit.
I need to watch Crips too.
Have you not seen the second one yet?
No, I haven't seen it yet. I think I can watch it for free now because I've got Sky. So I might be able to watch it, but soon.
Well, if it's free, you might as well.
Yeah, exactly. If it's there, I'll watch it.
I'll give you a light spoiler. It's very good fan wank.
Yeah, I think I heard there's a few callbacks to the first one. So yeah. Yeah,
it's if you like Incredibles, you'll have fun, but
I do like the first one.
Don't expect it to be this revolutionary story like
the first one. Yeah, I've heard that it's good, but
enjoyable.
But, it's enjoyable. I would assume.
Anyway, moving on.
But I thought S.H.I.E.L.D.'s presence in this movie was unneeded.
Yeah.
What it does, it more just sets up the rest of like the MCU, like the Avengers. That's what it's there to do.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have any real importance to.
Yeah, but the problem is I don't actually remember what they talked about, so it just didn't.
New Mexico was basically it. They're like, hey, look, I've got to deal with this thing in New Mexico. Thor.
Yeah, but that happened at the end of the movie anyway.
Yeah, they didn't.
I mean, Coulson specifically mentions he's got to go to New Mexico, which is referencing Thor.
In the scene we just talked about with the Captain America shield, he says he has to leave to go to New Mexico, and I'm assuming that's where the hammer is.
Wait a second. Was he in Thor?
Yeah.
Did I just completely forget about him when I watched Thor?
He's really in it, but he is in it.
I watched them one day apart, and I forgot about him.
Well, Coulson's a bit of an overrated character.
I think maybe his presence in Iron Man 2 was so forgettable that I didn't realize who he was when I saw him in Thor.
Yeah.
That's possible.
Yeah. Any other side characters you want to discuss from Iron Man 2?
There's no one else.
The strawberry seller. He said, "Are you Iron Man?"
Wait, who?
That was great.
when Tony picks up the strawberries from the stand, and there's the guy like, "Are you Iron Man?" He's like, "Sometimes." He's like, "We believe in
He's
you."
on his way to Stark Industries to have a discussion with Pepper, and he has strawberries. And when he gets the whole massive structure that Howard Stark built, and he throws away the strawberries. He's talking about where he got the strawberries from, and the guy.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's the ones I can't remember.
All right.
Oh, and the little kid who has the Iron Man mask on, because retroactively that's Spider-Man.
Yeah, I saw that in the trivia. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's obviously didn't plan it that way, but it turned out nicely.
No, it wasn't when they did that. That was not what they planned to do, because they didn't have the rights to Spider-Man at the time. They still technically don't, but they can use him in the MCU. But at that time, it was just a kid. But now we know it's Peter Parker. So
that's cool, because it works out. It's fine.
Yeah. It's another layer to.
As long as it makes sense.
Yeah, as long as it makes sense, then there's no problems.
Yeah. And also, Stan Lee was Larry King in this one, wasn't he?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
that was great.
Because obviously in the first one he was Hugh Hefner, and in the second one he was just some guy who drank a drink and dropped it.
Yeah.
He got poisoned by the Hulk blood.
Yeah, that's what.
Oh man, what if they turned him into like a Stan Lee Hulk, and at the end of the film, the Harlem Battle, instead of the Abomination, it was a Hulkified Stan Lee. Excelsior, true believers.
What if he
Smash?
What if he comes back in Endgame and defeats Thanos?
Well, he might be tied. Well, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
There's a fan theory that I'm not going to talk about yet.
Okay.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah. It's funny how Stanley plays other characters in the early MCU films. Then later he just plays himself, basically. If you get what I mean. Like he plays Earl Hefner and then he plays Larry King.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, my favorite Stan Lee cameo isn't actually from the MCU. It's from Amazing Spider-Man 1.
I've got my favorite one's from Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, I love that one.
What one was that one?
Right.
What?
He comes up to Peter Parker, finally appreciating him for the hero he is. And Peter Parker, he's about to get to a rock, but he looks up and realizes how optimistic people are about him. Stanley comes up to him and says, "Well, I guess one man can make a difference. Enough said," which is one of his catchphrases, and then he walks off. It's just such a simple, complete understanding of what Spider-Man is, and I love that cameo more than any of the others.
And it happens in Spider-Man 3 of all movies.
Yeah. Because it's better than people give it credit for.
Oh, I do think it's better than people say, but it's still.
There's only literally you cut out.
Tell you what,
Venom,
hang on. I'll tell you one thing. It's better than Amazing Spider-Man 2. I'll say that.
By far.
I think I would say it's better than both the Amazing Spider-Man films. I would say.
Absolutely.
I would say it's better than both.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean the first Amazing Spider-Man's pretty bland, to be honest.
It's so boring.
I'd say it's boring as fuck.
Yeah,
I don't like both.
Apart from the Stan Lee cameo where he's wearing
that's
headphones.
Great. And I don't mind Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, but there's just something about him that
Andrew Garfield is a good actor. If you see The Social Network, he is a good actor. He's just not Spider-Man.
Yeah. The way they write Spider-Man, they misunderstood the idea of Spider-Man. Spider-Man is only cool when he's in the suit. That's when his confident side comes out, because he's in a mask. But when he's this hot, skater boy thing, that's not Peter Parker.
Peter Parker doesn't skate and be cool and be quippy outside the suit.
He walks into walls because he's a goofus. He's just,
That's what makes Tobey Maguire so great, because you look at him and he looks like a nerd and he looks like he'd be a dweeb. That's what makes him so great, Peter Parker.
The same Raimi Spider-Man trilogy is severely, I know people are like, oh, it's great. No, people need to rewatch it and actually appreciate it.
Spider-Man. Yeah. My Spider-Man 2 is legitimately one of my favorite films of all time.
Same. Yeah.
It's bloody great.
And the Green Goblin The Green Goblin is one of my favorite characters
Yeah.
of all time.
Willem Dafoe is
I-
fantastic.
My favorite Spider-Man character in the Raimi trilogy has to be Bonesaw,
Bonesaw.
because he's played by the Macho Man Randy
Yep.
Savage.
Oh yeah, true.
Yes, great.
That's true. I gotta go.
That seems
I,
like
I've
seems
got to
like
go
me
with
for me.
I've got to say J. Jonah Jameson. No one tops him
Of
for me.
course.
Yeah, we talked that
Jameson.
he is literally the best cast for any comic book character ever. You
He's
can't
the
get
best
better.
cast for any character ever.
Yeah, any character, not just comic book. There's like you can't get any better than that.
Like you could cast Morgan Freeman as Morgan Freeman, it wouldn't be as perfect.
Exactly.
Even bloody Morgan Freeman as Nelson Mandela wasn't as perfect as that.
No. Not even close.
Mm.
No. Please,
Yeah. Come on, Far From Home.
come on, cameo. Just
Fire
give me
Man,
some.
You far from home? Get some pictures. What are you doing?
He's for some reason he's in England for some reason.
I want a picture of Thanos.
I want to see that guy click.
As soon as he snaps his fingers, take the photo.
I don't care if you disappear. You get me that damn photo.
Purple guy does favor for the vacuum business. That's the headline.
Oh god. Oh, isn't Jesus? He's so great. I love him.
Yeah, he's the thing that he's basically at this point he's what's missing from the MCU.
Yeah, I would say
All we need.
he's what's missing from the MCU Spider-Man films. I would agree. Yeah.
Honestly, I don't give a shit if the X-Men or the Fantastic Four ever show up, as long as we get J. Jonah Jameson as
Yeah, I
J.
couldn't care less about those films. I couldn't care less. I just want him back in the MCU or him in the MCU.
Anyway,
Yeah.
the plot of Iron Man 2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we basically already outlined it. Really, it's just a
would
bunch of
say-
episodes of Iron Man, the TV series.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like it's not. I would say the overarch. It's not that difficult to follow. I think it's just Act Two's structure, and it's not fantastically well written, and it's hard to follow at times as well. So, yeah,
This-
it's not well done. I would say.
Other than a couple of scenes, this movie could be taken out of the canon, and it wouldn't really, other than the Howard Stark stuff, not really impact it going forward.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's one of the biggest issues. I'd say that it doesn't. Apart from
felt like-
being a character piece, it doesn't really
this
matter.
just felt like if you were only doing a movie that was supposed to be a sequel to Iron Man and not an MCU film. That's what it felt like.
But even then, it's bogged down with all the, hey, look how big our universe stuff is.
Yeah.
So it kind of falls flat on that element.
And it's only the third film of the franchise.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
like at this point it would be way more important to develop some of this stuff, but then they just
Yeah.
went, "Oh, let's just do another movie and have
I
some
would have
stuff."
loved the
happen."
movie. I would have loved the movie where Justin Hammer was the only bad guy, and the actual antagonist that Tony had to fight was Rhodes, who was working for the government.
Yeah.
Mm.
That might have been
Just-
better.
Because then you could just build that relationship more, understand Rhodey, and then obviously you could have some trickery where Sam Rockwell's built his own suit, he goes out to fight them, they team together, they're back on the same footing,
Oh,
you know, and you could have the Howard Stark stuff.
you know what else was disappointing about this film?
What?
So ever since 2010, especially in 2010, when I watched a lot of TV and so watched ads, all I saw every day was like 10 ads a day for Iron Man 2 coming out, and every single time they played Thunderstruck by AC/DC, and not once does it play in this film.
Mm.
Doesn't it play when he lands?
No, that's Shoot to
But-
Thrill.
Oh, that's right, of course, it's
Yeah.
Shoot to Thrill.
I was
It's like
so
that-
disappointed because I was like, whenever I saw the ad for it, it was always Thunderstruck, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's gonna be great. Whenever I watch that movie and I
Yeah.
have that song playing, it's like, nope, doesn't play
show.
once. Oh well,
Oh, well.
guess not then. Anyway, that's the plot.
That's the plot.
Thunderstruck
There's
didn't
no
happen.
Thunderstruck.
Thunder did not strike.
No.
We did get another one bites the dust, though, which was heavy foreshadowing.
Oh yeah.
Well, I haven't seen any of the other Iron Man, so shut up.
You've seen Infinity War, haven't you?
Yeah, but like he's barely in it.
Another one bites the dust.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
It was a joke.
It didn't
I think I
click.
saw a video with someone doing that with the song as well. I think I saw that.
So unlike the first Iron Man, this only had one writer instead of 4.
How?
I know, like it's so weird how this one feels more like a mess in terms of its like structure, but the first one had 4 writers and this one has 1.
Yeah. So this film was written by Justin Theroux, who also wrote Tropic Thunder. And I can see why, because some of the humor is very similar.
Is actually.
Yeah, and
So
I noticed that this film specifically had so much more jokes, so many more jokes than the first 2 MCU films. It was
I think a lot of it
heavy.
missed.
It was very heavy
I
on
think
the
a lot
comedy.
were a lot misses, I would say.
Yeah, well, I mean, have you ever seen Tropic Thunder?
No.
Right, okay. I just remember Jack Black vomiting on it.
Do you not remember what Robert Downey Jr.'s role in that film was?
Why, was he in Tropic Thunder?
Yes. You know,
What?
the Australian guy who gets surgery to become a black man?
Look, I haven't seen that movie since it came out.
Robert Downey Jr. is the one in blackface in that film.
Well, I haven't seen it.
Wait,
I
is
mean,
it
I
the
have
film
seen it,
with
but I haven't.
is it
I
the-
remember seeing it.
Is it
I
the
just
film
re-
with Ben Stiller?
Yes, Ben Stiller directed it as well.
I haven't.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
I
god,
remember that.
I've heard of that film and I've seen clips from it. Yeah.
And Tom Cruise is the movie producer with the big hairy arms and the bald head.
Oh my god.
That's Tom Cruise.
Like literally like I said, all I remember from Tropic Thunder is Jack Black vomiting.
You should
Because it
watch
just-
Tropic Thunder, man. It's cool, great.
I remember laughing at it, but it was so long ago. It was like one of those sleepovers when I was however old, like 11.
I'm a dude disguised as another dude, dressed as another dude. It's great. It is so good.
Yeah, but would you say that it was the Iron Man 2 script failed by comparison?
I feel like Paul, what's his face, Justin Theroux, wrote a draft of the script, and the studio said, right, we'll roll with that, and then they didn't. And it's only bits and pieces of what he actually wrote was in the final product. That's what it feels like to me.
Or maybe he just didn't do a good job.
Nah, it feels too clunky for a man. Tropic Thunder is a pretty well-structured film. So this guy clearly knows how to, you know...
Yeah, but it's a well-structured comedic film. There's a lot more to Iron Man 2 than comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tropic Thunder has a lot going
Comedy,
on.
because the comedy aspects, especially in Act 1, are really well structured. Like in when Downey Jr. is walking through that place during the Formula One bit, like that stuff's really well structured. It's really
yeah,
well put together.
yeah, I would say so. Yeah, talks to Elon Musk. I didn't even remember he was in this film at all.
I didn't
Elon
even
Musk.
know he's been around for that long. Like in terms of like
Yeah, me either. I thought he was like
being in the public eye. Yeah.
like I didn't know who he was until like 6 months ago.
I didn't know he was until like a couple years ago, so I didn't even know he was in this film. So
I mean, if I was a kid and I saw his name, I'd be like, "Ooh, that's a horrible looking name," and that's all
yeah,
I know.
it's a very weird name. It's like a fragrance or something. Elon Musk.
The Elon Musk.
God, at least
he'll
his
probably make
name's
that at
not
some
Lynx
point.
Africa. Oh dear. Or I don't know, Chanel number 5.
Mm-mm.
The last member of the Spice Girls, Old Spice.
Oh. Of course, this film was also directed by Jon Favreau.
Favreau, yeah.
Favreau, but apparently I think he left after this one.
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
Because
This was his
Shane
last
Black
one.
comes and directs the third one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think it's like Jon Favreau specifically got very frustrated with this film, and that's why he left.
Yeah. Similar thing
I
happened
mean,
with
he's-
Josh Whedon, I think.
Yeah, he's still around. He's in the films, and I think at some point he's executive producer. At some point, I don't know. He does stuff, but he's still like around. But he just didn't want to direct. He didn't want to direct anymore.
Mm.
Yeah,
he's in Infinity War.
Josh Whedon. Yeah, he's in
So,
Homecoming.
In terms of the direction, I think it is for the most part more cohesive than Iron Man, where Iron Man failed.
Mm.
But unfortunately,
say,
the story structure, and the editing especially is so janky that sometimes the direction is taken away from. But in terms of like the set pieces and like in terms of those lighter dialogue scenes where Iron Man 1 wasn't that great, he did have a slight improvement. There was less stale shots, I would say.
And there's also,
yeah,
in the action scenes, this wasn't really a problem with Iron Man 1, but he avoided, rapid edit close-up action scenes. Like when I was flying through them, you could see what she was doing.
Yeah.
He clearly had the action scenes planned out, which was really good.
Although in some instances that can fail, like the bloody the throne room fight from the Last Jedi, where there's so many like fuck ups with the stuntmen. Like when the guy just runs away and then the sword disappears and stuff.
Yeah.
So that can be quite an ambitious thing to do. But I do get what you mean.
This was quite simple because that scene where she runs through the hall and takes out all those guys while Happy is using his boxing skills to take out that one guy could very easily have been, like a Born Identity, let's make the audience vomit kind of directing.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate that stuff.
He kept it pretty fluid. The cuts were few and far between. There were some janky edits, but for the most part, he was very deliberate with his cuts, and it was very fluid.
Mm-hmm.
So the action was nice.
Yeah.
And like the Formula One crashes, the mixture between practical and CGI was gorgeous.
Oh yeah, that was great. The Formula One stuff in general looked great.
It felt fast. It felt like the engines were bassy.
Yeah. But yeah,
I do love that scene where Happy is trying to just take down one guy, and then you got Black Widow who's taking out like 20.
Yeah, and he's like, I got him.
I laughed so hard when I saw that. That was probably the hardest I laughed in this entire film. I don't know why. I just love that bit. I love that scene.
I think the hardest I laughed was when he first runs into Justin Hammer in that bar. Like that whole sequence is so funny. He's just like, oh, I don't like this guy. I don't like this guy.
Yeah. So uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah.
Also, one little detail I really appreciated about Sam Rockwell, I'm not sure whose idea it was, but the fake tan marks on the end of his fingers, because he'd been rubbing fake tan on himself. In the when he's talking to people, if you look at Sam Rockwell's hands, they're covered in fake tan smudges because he's been applying it to himself. It's such a neat little character detail.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but overall, I do think the direction did work for the most part in this movie.
Yeah.
And I would actually say it's probably overall better than Iron Man 1, even if Iron Man 1 had more interesting scenes, like the terrorist storyline.
Yeah. This one definitely a bit less point and shoot.
There was more of a spectacle to this one, I'd say.
Yeah,
better or worse.
It's weird because the spectacle was just much shorter.
Yeah.
They were in short bursts.
Sometimes less is more.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So anything else you want to say about the direction?
It's good.
No, I think we've said it.
Right. So the music of this film, because in the first one they used Ramin Djawadi, but they didn't bring him back for this one.
No, they didn't.
In this one they used John Debney, who was nominated for an Academy Award for scoring The Passion of the Christ. And also another bit of earlier trivia about him, is that he recorded the score for Iron Man 2 in 4 days.
Was it?
4 days?
Yep. So it was very rushed.
Yeah.
A 2-hour score in 4 days.
Yeah. I can't remember much score in this film.
I just remember Ivan's theme sounding very cold and Russian.
Yeah.
I would say for the most part, I guess it worked. Like, it was functional.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something I can specifically like pick out.
Yeah. Again, like we said with Iron Man 1, the stuff you remember is the production music, like AC/DC and Black Sabbath, not the score.
That's what Incredible Hulk has over this film. I say the score is more memorable. Like, as we mentioned with the Brazil scene, the score is a little bit more memorable. It's not like massively better, but I can't remember a single score from this film.
This is something that's interesting, because this is something I think the Marvel Universe got better as it went on.
Yeah.
There's themes and motifs.
And that's so weird, considering the first Iron Man was scored by Ramin Djawadi. The fact that it's not considered one of the best scores, or at least we didn't notice it.
Yeah.
No, but like you've seen the Avengers, eh? The first one. Yeah. Well, that bum 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 ba-da, bum, bum, it's our generation's Star Wars.
Yep, basically.
I would agree.
It's like pretty much anyone you go to of our age group in the street, in the Western world at least, and you play them that piece of music, they'll go, Avengers, right?
Yeah, and just Marvel.
Whereas if you played them the like Iron Man's theme from Iron Man 2, they'd be like, I don't know, Transformers.
What is that?
Yeah.
Transformers.
God,
at least Transformers has a more iconic score. Like, even Transformers has a theme.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Like, you recognize it when you hear it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, but
movie shit. Music's great.
I guess what I'll say is considering the score was written in 4 days, I'll put hats off to John Debney for that.
It wasn't a bad score. It just wasn't.
No.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is he did it in 4 days, which is extraordinary.
Yeah, like fair play to do it in that short amount of time.
It should have failed. Yeah. Right. Trivia time.
Trivia.
Scarlett Johansson dyed her hair red before she even got the part because she wanted the role so badly.
You know that?
Yeah, you can tell she loves the role. You can tell.
Yeah.
She's very committed.
It's different. It's different to what she'd done up to that point.
And also, to add on to that, it's sort of... Because maybe someone would say, okay, without knowledge, they would say, oh, maybe she's just doing that because she's confident. No, there was a lot of famous actresses that were offered this role. So she was really taking a risk there.
Yeah. But I think she's perfect for the role, so I'm glad she still has the role. So
yeah. And yeah. Yeah. I don't know what I was gonna say. Yeah. Jon Favreau had a lot of friction with the Marvel higher-ups due to their constant intervention, to the point that they were having him rewrite the script as the film was still shooting. In particular, elements such as the increased prominence of the S.H.I.E.L.D. subplot were the result of a need to establish the greater MCU in preparation for the Avengers, at the expense of the coherence of the film's own plot. These disputes got so bad that Favreau turned down directing Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
It's because the director they got instead, other than his most recent work, pretty much had knocked it out of the park every time. But
I haven't seen it. But
I'm not talking about Iron Man 3. I'm talking about who they got to replace Jon Favreau. Every film he'd done before Iron Man 3, fucking awesome.
Okay.
So we'll see how that went.
Rightio. A lot of Whiplash's identifying features were suggested by Mickey Rourke. He wanted to perform half of his role in Russian and consulted on the character's tattoos and gold teeth, as well as having a pet cockatoo. In fact, Rourke paid for the bird and the gold teeth out of his own pocket.
What a good guy.
Yeah, he was. I guess he was just trying to make it seem iconic in a way, make it memorable. He tried, and I guess that you can give him that he wanted to try and make something, not necessarily different, but something that people can remember. Like
he's committed, absolutely.
Yeah, he was committed. So fair play to him. It just didn't really work.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to sound like I don't know if this is controversial, but I don't know. I just got vibes of Try Hard from Whiplash a lot of the time.
I don't think that's controversial.
No one. I
would
don't.
say
Whiplash is not really anyone's favorite villain.
Okay.
no. I don't think anybody. I doubt anybody remembers his motivations even now.
Yeah.
Like if they haven't seen the film in a long time.
Yeah, and I just think Mickey Rourke seems like a B-level badass. Like he just doesn't quite get there for me.
Yeah, I would say the same. He doesn't click for me, I would say.
Ivan Vanko originally had a tattoo of Loki on his neck. The film's producers feared it would cause confused fans to believe that Vanko would have a connection to this other villain from the same universe, so the tattoo was removed in post-production using CGI.
The whole film, it was already there.
Yep,
Wow.
It was on there the whole film when they removed it with CGI.
Jesus. What a weird choice.
It would. How would that make any sense?
Yeah, that's really weird.
Because Loki hadn't been to Earth at that point. Yeah.
But that obviously they because at the end of the film they show Thor's hammer, so obviously they're hinting at it.
But isn't it like there's like rumors of time travel in Endgame, so maybe in Endgame they go back in the past and put the tattoo on his neck,
and that saves everyone.
Yeah.
Of all the important storylines that they get delve into to try and meddle with or fix continuity, that one definitely takes priority.
Yes. So what happens is that they put the tattoo on his neck. Therefore, Loki doesn't come to Earth. Therefore, Thanos doesn't do anything. Therefore, everyone's saved. And they release Iron Man 2 Special Edition in theaters, remastered with the tattoo on his neck.
Because people are going to want to go and see Iron Man 2 again in theaters.
And they release it with the extra 40 minutes of Whiplash that we didn't get to see.
Now
and Shield.
I might see. If they had more of the characters, they actually had more of the deleted scenes. I might see.
That is the result of Endgame. It's all to help Whiplash as a character.
That was in Mickey Rourke's contract.
We don't care about Black Panther. We don't care about Doctor Strange or Spider-Man. We want to make Whiplash a decent villain.
Yes.
And we want to make Stanley Abomination 2.0.
Stan Smash.
Stan Smash. Oh dear. The photo of Ivan being arrested that Tony Stark views in his research is an actual media photo of Mickey Rourke being arrested on a drugs charge when he was younger.
Mm. Again, with that life parallel between him and RDJ.
Tony Stark's race car at Monaco was supposed to be Iron Man Red, but Robert Downey Jr. insisted on driving a blue and white car.
Because he's got taste. He likes it streamlined.
Why don't you like red?
I do like red. I just
No, you don't. No, you don't. Because you don't like Tom Baker's season 18 costume because it's all red.
But that's magenta. And I don't mind magenta. Just not I like red. There's plenty of red in my room. There's something red.
Your shirt's red.
It's pink.
Oh.
But you make pink by combining red with other shit and it gets pink.
Yeah, whatever.
I like red, but silver's better.
I'm assuming you like Fantastic Four 2 Silver Surfer, don't you?
Mm.
The look of him? You mean his aesthetic?
What the fuck? Did you hear that?
Iron Man's here. He says you don't like red suit.
Mouth going do.
Yeah, I heard that in the background.
Thanks for waking everyone up. Because it's PM here, by the way, Callum.
Yeah.
It's like 11
Yeah,
PM.
I know. Yeah.
We've already talked about this, but the next trivia was about the kid being Spider-Man.
Yeah, everyone knows that.
Yeah. Mickey Rourke.
I like Spider-Man's outfit. I do like red.
Oh yeah. What if Spider-Man was silver?
He has been.
I prefer it. there is a silver suit in some sort of continuity, I would assume.
Yeah, there's tons of silver suits.
Yeah, I think there's a white one in the original Spider-Man
Do you want to
PS1
know? Do you want to know an interesting trivia about me?
Yeah.
The only reason I went to see Spider-Man 3 in cinemas is because I liked the look of his black suit.
Because it is.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like
that's
it.
the only reason I went to watch it. I didn't give a shit about. I'd never watched the trailer.
Ah.
I can't see how anybody can deny the scene when he first suits up, when it goes into his eye and then out of his eye and he's upside down, and you hear that.
I love that score. I'm going to say
so
I
good.
love that score.
Is it Christopher
I
Young?
love the Venom theme.
Is it Christopher Young?
Yes,
Is that
it is.
Yeah.
Because Danny Elfman did the first two films, and then he stepped down, and then Christopher Young comes in and does the score. And I think he does a fantastic job, I would say.
Spider-Man 3 has the best score of all three of them, I reckon.
Ooh, that's controversial, I would say.
Because
But
think of the music that's playing when Sandman's trying to pick up his daughter's picture when he's
that's
being
very
born.
well scored. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a brilliant scene
gorgeous.
too.
What about the music?
There is good in Spider-Man.
What about the music that plays when he's walking down the street going?
That's Get On Up. That's not. It's not score. That's soundtrack. That's different.
Fucking hell. 2 identical Rolls-Royce Phantoms built especially for the film were destroyed during filming.
Intentionally?
I don't know. The rooftop where Tony and Pepper kiss at the end is located on an apartment building overlooking Flushing Meadows, where Jon Favreau lived as a child.
Oh.
So I guess he got a poetic end.
He got a poetic end to his filmmaking of the MCU.
Iron Man kissed the girl on my house.
That's very odd. Yeah.
Well, that is pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I like Jon Favreau. He's done some really good films.
Oh, now
Yeah.
this one's an interesting one, at least for me. In total, 11 different visual effects companies worked on the film.
Oh wow. 11 different.
Because I
So-
imagine they'll decide different things. Like some were assigned to have his robots, some were assigned to Whiplash, some were assigned to cars, some were assigned to Ant-Man suits. I imagine
So-
there's-
Yeah.
So what I'm going to say is, what do you think is more intricate? 11 visual effects companies, or the suit from the first film that has 450 pieces?
Oh.
Well, it's 400. Well, the thing is, it's practical 450 pieces. Digitally, in the second one, it's probably like, what, 100
450 staff, probably,
pieces? Yeah.
400.
across 11 companies.
Yeah.
And
Probably.
adding color made it render slower. So they should have just kept it silver.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I get you. Even though that isn't actually true.
No, it's a fact. You can look it up.
No. It's a fact that color increases the complexity of the rendering. It doesn't necessarily mean it'll make it render faster.
I said it
Especially-
rendered slower because you get rid of the color.
Oh,
and
sorry.
it's silver.
I mean render slower. It doesn't necessarily mean that. It just means that it's a more complex rendering process. If you did it on your home computer, yes, it would render slower.
Yeah.
Anyway, doesn't matter.
I want to make it clear. I actually really like the red and gold suit. I only just prefer the silver one. Doesn't mean I
No, you
dislike
hate it. You hate it. You hate
No, I
the
don't
suit.
like that. I love the red and gold, man.
Well,
Yeah.
as you like to say all the time, Adam, everyone's allowed to be wrong.
Yeah. Especially when I prefer the red and gold.
Al Pacino. Al Pacino was considered for the role of Justin Hammer.
He's more accurate to the comic version.
Yeah. If you say he's like more, he's older and he's like not more.
He's
like,
much more rough around the edges.
Yeah. That probably. Yeah. I'm not sure about the. No, I don't know.
I think he would have been. I think he would have been more an attraction, but maybe not annoying enough.
He wouldn't have had
Yeah.
Al Pacino. Yeah.
Tony Stark greets Elon Musk in a restaurant in Monaco just before bumping into Justin Hammer.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier.
Yep. Right. Who wants to go first for conclusion and rating out of 10?
Okay, I'll go.
You go for it.
Yeah. So Iron Man 2, when looking on it again after not seeing it in a very long time, when it's infamously known as being one of the worst films in the MCU, I would disagree on rewatching, though it's definitely a downgrade to the first Iron Man, but it's better than Hulk by a massive margin, I would say. So it's fun. It's got a nice few set pieces. Effects look quite good. Just story-wise and the structure can be a bit all over the place. Second act is hard to follow at times, so I might be a bit generous. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I might feel generous.
Okay. Your turn, Adam.
I'm very much the same. I don't think it's bad by any means. It's just very messy. Because the good stuff is very, very good. It's just there's a lot of stuff holding it down, and it's very muddled, as you said. It feels like the middle few episodes of the TV series. It's messy, very, very messy, but it does have some very strong highlights. Yeah, it's not bad. So I'm going to agree and say it's a 6 out of 10 because it is good, but it's nothing special. It's probably very forgettable. A couple of set pieces.
Okay. Yeah, I basically agree. It's not as bad as some people say it is, but it's also not a great movie either. It's definitely a downgrade from Iron Man 1, although there are some aspects to it that I do prefer to it over Iron Man 1. Overall, as a story, it's quite messy. The structure's all over the place, but there are individual scenes within the movie that are genuinely great, and a lot of it is quite entertaining. I guess for me, the most disappointing part was the end. I just felt that the end felt so cliche, and I just wish there was more complexity to it, because that's the thing that I'm missing from these movies at the moment. As I've been watching the first few in Phase 1, is they all have such simple endings, and it's just quite cliche. But I'm sure at some point that will change, as you've all alluded to. So, funnily enough, I knew this number going in, and it is a 6 out of 10, which means that 3 reviews so far, we've all had the same scores. All the people that have been on there. Because for Iron Man 1, me, Callum, and Josh all gave it a 7. For Hulk, me and Callum both gave it a 4. And for Iron Man 2, we all gave it a 6.
Yeah. We're all on the same level right now.
So this is like, I feel like this is like the opposite of our Doctor Who reviews. Because in Doctor Who, we always disagree.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting going forward, seeing how
I think
about directions.
Yeah, I think going forward in the future film, I think the scores may differ. I think at a few points, but yeah, so far we've all kind of had the same thoughts on all these films, on their quality. I would say. Yeah. So
I would say because the first 3 so far, I've been pretty sure of my score going into the review with the first 3 movies, but with the next one, Thor, I'm still not sure how I feel about it.
I don't know how I'm going to feel about 4. I really have no idea.
We haven't even watched it yet, so you won't know. Because when going into Thor, I had no idea what to expect, and what I got was not what I expected, and I still don't know what I think about it. So I guess I'll have to hash it out and think it through for the next review. How many times have you seen Thor, Adam?
5, maybe.
5?
5 times? Wow.
Okay. Well,
there is a reason for that.
No, okay.
But we'll get to it.
Okay.
There is a distinction.
My bloody charger's going off. Yeah, but that'll be the next review. Will be Thor, obviously, because it's the next one in release order.
Yep.
So I guess with nothing else to say, I guess I'll hit stop recording then. So see you later.
Hey.